chat. But we are here. I will be answering all of your DFS questions. I just dropped the Building Blocks Week 1, the weekly DFS article. Already see some people dropping questions in the chat. Should be a good one. I don't know. In chat, what sites do you guys play on? Because I really want to quote multi-table the play Super Draft, play Yahoo. I'm still locked out of my account on Yahoo and never figure to reach out to like a support person to try and log me back in. But DraftKings, FanDuel, and then Sunday morning rolls around. Like, that sounds exhausting. I'd rather do nothing less. So I think I'll just be playing on maybe Super Draft, definitely FanDuel, definitely DraftKings this year. So yeah, let's get right to it. This is easily the best comment so far. Let's go indeed. I've said it so many times, but we really needed football to come around. We had really talked Michael Carter and Breece Hall target shares to death or whatever. Liam, no, this sounds awful. I couldn't name you 3 kickers. I can name you 3 kickers, but long time listener, first time commenter. How many kickers could I name? Someone set a line of how many kickers I could name, and I'll give you my pick for over under, because I think. Especially, I don't know if it has to be starting kickers. That's going to be a problem, because I never really remember the kicker shuffle of who plays where anymore, or if they play. So, yeah, 32 kickers would be an incorrect line for how many I could even name, let alone them actually be the starting kicker or whatever. Like Jacksonville, they signed like 4 kickers and then cut 2 and then move one of their practice squad. No clue who's kicking for them. Rodgers or Cousins, who would you take for your QB this season? I think it's still Rodgers. I feel like that might be fishy at the end of the year when you're like, yeah, well, he didn't have Devontae Adams. No kidding, he didn't play particularly well. But like, I feel like our prior should be fairly strong on Aaron Rodgers playing the position that has the most influence, maybe of any position in sports. Him being the one who controlled a decent amount, the majority of his production in the past 2 years. So I still think it's Rodgers, but like, would it shock me if getting a new offensive-minded head coach the 3rd year of Justin Jefferson is like this, everything comes together for Kirk Cousins? No, like that could totally happen. So wouldn't shock me. I'm still betting on Rodgers. I was taking some Rodgers in best ball just because I think he was the final quarterback who had the chance to be like top 5. He was probably never going to be 1 because he doesn't rush and he doesn't throw enough. But like top 5 or 6, like 40 touchdowns, 4,400, 4,500 yards. He was like the final quarterback that had any chance to be that guy. And he was so cheap relative to the rest of the guys who could be that. You know, like, he's not that much different than Brady, right? Like, Brady's not giving you any rushing production. Rodgers isn't giving you much, if any, rushing production. Both are good touchdown scores. You just get a yardage advantage from Brady. So I was taking some Rodgers in best ball. I'd take him over Kirk Cousins, but it's uncomfortably close, and I could totally see myself being wrong. Elijah Mitchell or Gibson, standard scoring. Just take Eli. That's he plays for what I think will probably still be a better offense. It's definitely a little more questionable, but for now, I'm predicting that the Kyle Shanahan scheme is enough to lift up Trey Lance, who also could be good. It just right now, I'm not super confident in saying that. He could be good, but I think that the scheme alone will be enough to make that offense solid with a good ceiling. Mitchell, clearly, like, I think just more talented than Gibson, which is disappointing because I loved Gibson coming out of college. But Mitchell, as a rookie, was great, and Gibson isn't even liked by his own team. So I'll take Eli Mitchell. What do we got here? Timothy Chan, thanks for hopping in chat. Half PPR scoring. Edmonds versus Pats, Miles Sanders or Bateman. I think I'm going Bateman. That is just such a good, juicy matchup. The Jets, I know they got, I believe, drafted Sauce Gardner. What pick was that? Was that like 4? Was that pick 4? But I know like they've made improvements to their secondary. They were terrible last year, and they've made an effort to be less terrible. PFF still ranked them as the number, I think, 17 secondary heading into the year. Last year, they gave up the highest rate of long passing plays as a percentage of the passing plays they faced. It's like 12, I think, % of the pass attempts that came against them went for 20 plus yards. And Bateman, I know like he's this sort of like schemey slot guy, like Treylon Burks-esque, right? But that's not the only thing he did in college. He did do that. It was his junior year, his final year. Had a pretty low, like middling ADOT and just got a ton of passes. But We saw the year before that, he had a 17 ADOT. He was like a true deep threat because he's just good. He can win inside, outside, deep, short. And the Jets are, at least last year, and probably still this year, are a secondary that, beat him deep, beat him short, beat him however you want. And especially now with J.K. Dobbins looks, let's call it sus. And then obviously no Gus Edwards. And then recently brought in Kenyon Drake probably gets the start. Or if it's Mike Davis, like if those are the guys, they're going to do what they did last year to some extent. And especially early, first quarter, first half, they're going to probably air the ball out more so than we would have expected if you think, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are playing. When that happens, in probably like week 5, I assume Gus is back by week 5 because of the pup list. Maybe he's not ready by week 5, though. I don't know. Whenever those guys come back, it's a really good backfield. They will run the ball a lot more than most teams. But until that happens and J.K. Dobbins not looking great for week 1, this is like the ideal passing attack to target. What else do we got here? 12-team half PPR. Who should I start for the flex? Tony Pollard or Drake London? I think I'm still going Drake London. I just, with the ex-backup running back or third down running back is going to get slot snaps or whatever. Like, I just can't bring myself to, you have to show it to me first because every single summer, we always believe Tony Pollard is playing slot snaps. And Tony Pollard never plays these godforsaken snaps that aren't running back snaps. Like, it happens, right? But it doesn't happen to a fantasy relevant level very often, if ever. So it's Drake London. Could Tony Pollard go out and get like 6 carries, 6 catches, and he's awesome with them because he's Tony Pollard? Absolutely. But like, that just can't be your projection. We just don't see that. So that would be, we're getting a kicker. I could name more than 7. Ooh, actually, I don't know. 12.5. 12.5 feels like the right line. I think I could probably get to like 9 would be my guess. 12.5 is pretty in the ballpark. I'm not going to do it though. I'm letting you know about the correct answer. I don't want to do it. Not because I'd get 3 and then give up. That's certainly not it. It's because it wouldn't be good content, I don't think. Hooper and Njoku for the rest of the season. Njoku, like Hooper is just such a jag. Like, he's fine. He can go out and catch passes and fall down. But Njoku is like an elite athlete getting thrust into a full-time role. So I would take Njoku clearly. This is a fun one. I got one for you. Pick between Godwin, I assume that's Hines, Tyler Lockett, Drake London, or Jamal Williams in standard for the flex spot, assuming he plays, which we just got a report. I think it was just Todd Bowles just said that they're going to take it all the way up till Sunday for him. That's what Godwin said yesterday. I think he said he's a game time decision. If he plays, it's Godwin. Godwin was, I believe, top 5 or top 10. I think it was top 10 in red zone targets through 14 weeks last year. Only scored 5 touchdowns on them, but I would bet on the Godwin-Brady connection working out better over the long term. And he was just the wide receiver 5 overall. This is in PPR scoring, but the red zone stuff will certainly also help him even in standard scoring. It looks like a high scoring affair. So I would say touchdown probability between all these players is Godwin pretty easily. Like Jamal Williams, running backs generally have a bit more touchdown equity because they just get more touches, and teams are teams are prone to running when they get close to the goal line, obviously. But he's not the guy to do that on that team, and that's not a team that's going to score that many points. The same with Drake London's team, the same with Tyler Lockett's team. Liam Hines, but he's not the goal line back. Doesn't matter. So touchdown equity, because it's standard, is Godwin, but also yardage. It's Godwin. So it's just Godwin on all fronts. Waddle or Bateman this week? I'll go Bateman. Like, I think I'll end up having Bateman ranked pretty above consensus. Yeah, I'll go Bateman. Half PPR scoring, not excited about Najee and Chubb's matchups this week. Chase Edmonds and Miles Sanders. No. Let's not get too fancy here, right? Like, Najee, he led the NFL as a rookie in total touches. And I get they maybe want to scale that back, but like, are they doing that with like UDFA standout Jaylen Warren or whatever? I don't think so. So I would say you're still playing Najee and Chubb. I'm actually not worried about Chubb's matchup. The Panthers were like last year 9th in EPA per play against the run. It's good, but it's not enough to really throw me off of them. And right now we have a fully healthy Cleveland Browns offensive line, which PFF ranked number 2 in the NFL. and they have a bad quarterback. They're going to run it so many times with a very good offensive line against, yes, a good run defense. But I think like the advanced metrics would show, they're not a true shutdown, can't run against them team, at least in EPA per play. So, and defense is even fluky. So even if like last year they really were that and EPA doesn't really capture it that well, defense is very fluky. So they could have been, and I think in fantasy points, they probably were one of the better ones last year. I could check that, but I know they were good, or they were good. It was bad to play against them in fantasy points, allowed. But I would say that that's probably not particularly sticky. And the advanced metrics show that they weren't the best, right? So I'll take Chubb getting what should be just a metric ton of carries because, hide Jacoby Brissett has to be the game plan. All right. Best dart throw running back, Rachaad White or McKinnon? I guess I assume by dart throw, you mean like you have to start one of these? If you have to start one of these guys week one, I'd still go Rachaad White either way. I think if you have to start one week one, I guess I'd go McKinnon. Because I think there's a decent chance McKinnon is playing a lot of the third downs for Kansas City. Kansas City third downs are probably going to look like a lot of passes to wide receivers because that's what Patrick Mahomes does. But we did see Darrell Williams playing this role, got over like 1,000 yards from scrimmage last year. Some of those games were just some of the good games were just starts without Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But even when Edwards-Helaire was there, they were still letting him play that third down stuff. So I think someone probably takes that role. I don't know for sure if someone takes that role. If someone other than Clyde takes that role, but I do think it's not him. I think he plays a lot of first and second down. Maybe they try him out on third down, but my baseline is that McKinnon is good for a few catches every week. I would like to see that from Rachaad White because I have a lot of him in best ball. It is good. I think he's just a good player, so I'd like to see that as well. But I can't say with any amount of confidence that he will enter week one with anything other than a pure backup role. So on a season-long scale, I love Rachaad White. He has the size, the athleticism, and the pass-catching prowess to be like a David Johnson level player. Not the bad David Johnson you all remember. Leonard Fournette kind of fits this bill too, although Leonard Fournette's more of like good at a lot of things, great at nothing. At his peak, David Johnson was like an elite pass catcher out of the backfield. Still, I think dating back to like 2013 or 14, something like that, the most air yards for a running back in a single season. He was actually doing the running back who makes a difference as a pass catcher. Like as much as I love my CMCs, my Ecklers, even Kamaras, like a lot of them do something that is good for a running back standard, but you should, if you can, right? The reason Kamara a lot of times gets so many targets and even CMC is that the teams they play on had like one viable pass catcher outside of them. And for Kamara, it was like 0 a bunch of times. So of course you're going to throw it to him. But should you throw it to Kamara 1.2 yards downfield versus throwing it to Chris Olave 15 yards down the field on the sideline? The EPA would say you should probably take the more aggressive shots. As far as running backs go, David Johnson was the most aggressive shot taker or the recipient of those takes we've ever seen. And I think Rachaad White really does have that potential. He was just absolutely elite in yards per route run. He looked good as a pass catcher if you watch him. So over a season-long dynasty, even like a 5-week perspective, I want Rachaad White. But if this was a question, I hope this answers both sides of the question. If this was a question about just this week, I think I have to unfortunately capitulate and say McKinnon probably gets more PPR points, maybe even standard points. All right, what do we got here? Waddle, Sutton, Elijah Moore from our wide receiver 2. I'll go Sutton. The Seattle defense isn't good, and I get that it's probably a team you just run the ball against. But I think with Russell Wilson going to Denver, we're going to see him throw more attempts per game than we ever have before. Might not be, 42 or whatever. It's not going to be something insane, but he was so limited in Seattle. Now he's Mr. Unlimited is what I'm being told. So, and you have Russ QB. So, and nice on the cup last night. What was it? I remember like 3 drives in or something. I was like, man, what has he got already? Like 4 catches. And he was at like 8. And I was just like shocked. Not shocked that he was doing it, just shocked at so much volume already. Pretty incredible. So yeah, I would go Sutton here. What else we got? Dameon Pierce or Penny, full PPR. This is a tough one. They're both like pretty similar profile of backs. Where like I think I was discounting how good Pierce was in college because he was a committee back, but like his PFF grades were off the charts. I think he was one of the better running backs we've seen come out by PFF recently. Now that carries less weight because it's easier. Like, the Tony Pollard type of players show us this. It's easier to be efficient, both from like a physical, I'm sure, like from a physical perspective it is, the first carry is easy to juke 3 defenders and take one long than it is on the 21st carry of a game. But just from a choosing your spots, perspective, the guys who are committee backs typically get put in good roles when they're out there. So I didn't love him as a prospect, but I think his preseason, which PFF said was the best running back preseason they had ever seen, and he was a really good prospect from efficiency perspective coming out of college. I think I got to get more on the Dameon Pierce train, and he's a solid pass catcher. He was like 11th or 12th in yards per route run last year in college. So I think I'm going to go Pierce. I think they're both like mostly two down backs on bad offenses, underdogs this week. But I actually think the Houston offense should be like considerably better than what I think is the worst offense in the league. Yeah, I think Seattle's the worst offense in the league. Houston's like bottom 8 or something. And getting out of that true bottom tier, that's good enough to make me go Pierce. And maybe he unseats Rex Burkhead for some third down work, or they're just throwing to him on early downs because he's good at that. So I'd go Pierce. I kind of like both these guys. I actually wrote up Pierce as a strong DFS play this week. So I don't think people are paying down at running backs. They're like, dude, how many people are playing like Greg Dortch and Andy Isabella? I can't wait for like they just throw to Zach Ertz 19 times or whatever, and all these lineups are absolutely burned. So I think paying down at running back will be at least a little bit unique. What do you got here? Edmonds, Cordell Patterson, or Michael Carter? Here I'd go Chase Edmonds. He plays for the best offense of the three. They're all probably some version of committee backs, very weirdly different committee backs. Like Patterson, like at his best, is hardly a running back. I just have so little faith that they know how to use Patterson because they completely ruined his awesome role in the second half of the season last year. I know it's because Mike Davis was like completely dusted, but like there's no rule saying you have to give, 10 stuffed box between the tackles carries to a running back every week. They could have just run less, right? So, and instead they're like, no, we have to have someone fill the Mike Davis role. Let's take Cordell Patterson out of the good role and then move him into that role. So I just think it's a coaching staff that like doesn't exactly understand what they're doing. Showed that to us last year a bit. Totally open to the idea that Cordell Patterson plays the fun role and is good in it, but like I don't want to bet on that week one when I'm much more confident Chase Edmonds, who like Miami paid a healthy amount of money, a 3-year deal, and only have like man of glass Raheem Mostert behind him. I'm more confident in his role is just good. I like Michael Carter. Well, I would have liked Michael Carter had they had Zach Wilson. Joe Flacco just doesn't throw to his running backs. The one start he got last year, he threw 2 times to his running backs and threw like 30 some odd times to his receivers and tight ends. I think Michael Carter's role in theory will be very good. I think he could split the backfield, like carries 50-50 and catch every pass they throw to a running back. I just don't think they'll throw that many passes to the running back with Joe Flacco. So I like Carter. I think it's almost like a shame that he had a running back who was like an elite prospect drafted behind him, drafted the year after he broke out. Because like Carter looks like a 3-down back. He's really good. But I think by the end of the year, it is kind of the Breece Hall show. And at the beginning of the year, it's the Joe Flacco not throwing to running backs show. So just like an unfortunate run out. Just Godwin. Like Godwin could be on a snap count. But if you told me, he plays 60% of his snaps last year, or of his snaps, and you look at his stats last year, like 60%, that's probably still pretty good. Like he was the wide receiver 5. So I would take a chunk of that. I would, you don't need the full 100% route rate for Godwin to be a good play. It's risky though. Like I just think it's a risk worth taking. What do we got here? Half team, 12, half team, half PPR, 12 teams got offered Lamar Jackson for Kyler Murray. No, I would still, like Lamar just breaks fantasy when he's at his best, and Kyler Murray is an elite quarterback when he's at his best, but it's not like unheralded stuff. I don't think there's a chance we get that because we saw last year in the first like 7 or 8 games, I think he got nicked up after game 8, if I remember correctly. He was on pace for like nearly 5,000 yards and 36 touchdowns, but then he wasn't running. And then he comes back and his passing goes down, but he starts running more. So we haven't seen him marry both of those, where we have seen Jackson marry both of those. And even if he doesn't, even if he just isn't the passer we saw in, was it 2020? I have to go fix a blurb actually. I think I said he was elite in 2021 and I meant the 2020 season, if I remember correctly. But, even if he doesn't recapture sort of that awesome 30 some touchdowns, hyper efficient, like 8% touchdown rate, the floor of rushing production is just so high. Whereas, with what we saw last year from Kyler Murray, when he excelled as a passer, he didn't need to excel as a runner. So because of that, I'll take the dude who's like on 17 games, almost a lock for 1,000 rushing yards. So I'll keep Lamar Jackson. Would you fade Pitts of London considering Pitt struggles last year and the sole threat in the offense? Chad, I assume it's Chow is what that is. Oft in our chat, I know you were in our chat last year a lot, and it looks like you may have just peeped the DFS article because I don't know if I directly called him a fade, but I said I would play some of the other elite tight ends over him or something of that nature. Low team total, not heavily utilized in the red zone last year. He was like, I don't know, 14th or 15th among tight ends in red zone target share. They're probably not getting to the red zone very much. Like totally chance he scores one touchdown. He's not, a super red zone threat, but he still finds the end zone on like 10 for 150. But like, if he's not like for a tight end, if you're not scoring touchdowns, I don't see you as a massive threat. And I think because he plays, it's not like I'm not saying he isn't incapable of catching touchdowns. It looks like the Atlanta offense, according to Las Vegas, the sports books, will not be producing many touchdowns. So that's why I would probably consider fading him, especially if you have other good options. You don't need to I don't want to say save money because he's not the cheapest tight end, but you don't need to save money going down from Kelsey to him or his price with Darren Waller's flip-flopped on FanDuel. He's cheaper, and on DraftKings he's more expensive, or the other way around maybe. You don't need the savings to get down to like the secondary level of elite tight ends. You can get up Kelsey if you want, and Kelsey has a really good chance of like double scoring at least, and Pitts just has such little chance. Like I'd imagine their yardage projection looks very similar. Just the odds of scoring, which is fluky, but it helps to be on good offenses, certainly, especially maybe the best offense. They just favor Kelsey so much. Elijah Moore, Chase Edmonds, full PPR. Elijah Moore, the one Joe Flacco start I referenced last year. Elijah Moore got, I think, 11 targets. It's either 10 or 11. Mitchell or Zeke, week 1. I'll go Zeke. I hate it, but they want to use Zeke as much as possible. It's disgusting. I don't want them to use Zeke as much as, but I have no say in the matter. If they're going to use Zeke, I'm going to play Zeke over Elijah Mitchell, who also gets used a decent amount, but not as much through the AZ. Much they like Jeff Wilson, especially how much they like that dude at the goal line. They love Jeff Wilson at the goal line. It's unbelievable. So I would take Zeke. I do think it's kind of close. And I think the Zeke fear from the summer is really a fear about his ability to hold down a large share of the backfield over a 17-game sample. Over the first game of the season, yeah, he should have a lot of the backfield in what is a pretty high-scoring environment. Lazard or Gibson? I don't want to answer this one. I'd love to not have to play either of these players, but assuming Lazard goes, I'd go with him. Non-PPR. All right. If you're just in chat and asking questions, I see a ton of them. I'll rapid fire because you have a lot of questions here, and you deserve to have them answered. And I'm a man of the people, so I'll rapid fire through these. Non-PPR flex: Miles Sanders or Michael Carter. Miles Sanders. Renfro or Woods. Half PPR. Woods. Half PPR scoring. Would you start tight end Irv Smith, Hooper, Everett, Hurst? I'd go Irv Smith. I like Irv Smith both this weekend from a long view. Would you be concerned if you own both Justin Jefferson? I'd play them both every week. If they project to be the best play, if they project for the most points, I'd play them. Now, if they're like, say you were facing Kupp this week, say you're facing, Kupp and Diggs or whatever, I probably wouldn't. I do think at that, in that like oddball scenario, I guess you probably can't be facing those two. Even if you face, let's say you face Kupp and Gabe Davis, sure. You face those two guys or Kupp and Josh Allen. You need ceiling plays across the board. And assuming you have a decent backup for Thielen, I would sub him out in that specific scenario. What else do we got? You just take Godwin on this one. We're always taking Godwin. Michael Thomas is interesting, but I think I'm still going Godwin. Breece Hall or Mari Cooper. I don't think we see much more than like 14 carries on a bad offense for Breece Hall in week 1. Non-PPR, Miles Sanders or Michael Carter. Carter now listed as, I'll still go Miles Sanders. Penny or Breece Hall. Let's go with Penny. Have I seen this one? I did just see this one. Kittle, Hurt, Njoku, Everett, or I'll go Njoku again. Just take the big, strong, fast dudes at tight end is the best strategy I've come up with so far. It's not a perfect strategy, but it is one of them. Should I start Pittman, St. Brown, or ETN? I'd go Pittman here, assuming it's anything other than standard. Deontay or Amon-Ra? I'd go Amon-Ra here. especially since Deontay, he's going to play, but it was like, this doesn't look great with the shoulder thing. He's like, yeah, it's just a pain tolerance thing. I'll be fine. I don't know about that. Definitely Saquon Barkley. Easily. Stevenson or Kirk and flex. Yeah, we'll go Ramondre. I love Ramondre. It'd be a shame for me to go back on him now. Maybe a tie between Pat's offense and Seahawks offense. This must be referencing something I have cruised through. Oh, the worst. Wait, this can't be referencing the worst offense. That's not. No. This is the Pats offense might be sort of bungled in how they are like coordinating it and switching from what they had last year in terms of their scheme, but like they have talented players, whereas like the Seahawks don't have talented players at offensive line. I guess. Yeah, no, they have a terrible offensive line, terrible quarterbacks. Like that alone negates so much of the value of having Penny and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So no, that's incorrect. Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy for week 1. Jerry Jeudy. A lot of Michael Carter questions, and I do like Carter. It's just I don't think Joe Flacco's throwing to running backs. He's just not that kind of guy. AJ Dillon. So if I have players like Lockett, Lennon, Hines, my bench, would you drop one of those 4 for? Yes. So I think this is like the perfect kind of question where, it's about like the strategy of adding and dropping. At least that's how I take it. Yeah, like London, maybe not this week, but hopefully soon, within a week or two. And Lockett are pretty much players you're playing every week. You're comfortable playing every week. Like, don't want to, but you have a guy on your starting lineup that goes down. You're totally fine saying like, yeah, Drake London's a good player. We want to throw him in the lineup. You don't need 4 of those guys. Hines fits that bill too. So does Jamal Williams. They're high touch guys. At least Jamal Williams is high touch, but he's not getting the goal line work. He won't get a ton of targets. I'm reading the next one. Sorry. So I do want to drop one of these players. I would take Williams, but I don't. If you said Hines, that'd be fine too. I would drop one of these like high floor but no like league winning upside type of players for someone. I would say either Romeo Dobbs or Nico Collins. I guess I'd go Dobbs, but I also actually no. Let's go Nico Collins. I think he has like the best chance of being just a strong weekly contributor, whereas Dobbs, that target share should be pretty flat. It's not time to panic on Allen Robinson yet. One game is just such a small sample. I even think it was either Stafford. I think it was Stafford who said right after the game that just the way the Bills defense sat in zone for nearly every snap really negated how they used Allen Robinson. Is my hair blue? Yeah, it's getting faded now. I think I did this a few weeks ago, like a month ago. Yeah, it's just about a month ago. And you can see at the top when I go down, it's pretty blue, but it used to be nice and bright, and now it's a little dingy, unfortunately. Penny or Zeke? We'll go Zeke. How about Algier in Atlanta? No, I don't even think he's going to be the backup. At least I can't say confidently that he's going to be the backup. It looks like it could just be, was it Damian Williams they have? Algier it was complete radio silence from him on, throughout training camp in the preseason. So, I mean, eventually it could be, but I think that offense is going to be bad for a while, and it might not matter who it is. What else do we got here? I'm going to pull up. What do we got? Just wanted to say I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for showing up. It's good to have people. Actually, again, I still have so many questions to get through. I'm sorry if you're in here, you hop in and you're waiting, because I'm still like, how many minutes behind am I? I'm like 10 minutes behind on questions. So let's keep rocking. If Godwin is limited sits, who do we fill? Oh, Julio Jones, dude. I am, even if Godwin plays, I'm totally comfortable playing Julio Jones. Russell Gage has been like banged up for weeks. And I just don't think he's fine. It's not, I don't want to say he's bad. He's just not like a special player. And Julio Jones, maybe he isn't that player anymore. But as of 2 years ago, he was still like 7. He was exactly 7th in receiving yards per game. And in like the 2.5 healthy games he played for the Titans last year, also looked like normal 30-year-old Julio Jones. Still very good. Probably not 26-year-old Julio Jones. That's okay. 32-year-old Julio Jones, if he's got any juice left with Tom Brady, like that's the nuts. Like I'm taking that guy. Damian Pierce, Tony Pollard, Damian Pierce. What else do we got? Michael Carter, top 20 running back. I'm totally down for that. Let's see. I think I answered this one, but Njoku, Julio Jones, or Rashad Penny. Let's go Julio. PPR, TJ Hawkinson or Darnell Mooney. Godwin or Juju in half PPR. I'll go Juju. I think this is where my Godwin love finally reaches its breaking point. We'll go with Juju here. PPR, pick one for flex. Zeke, Terry McLaurin, Cooks, Antonio Gibson, or Jalen Waddle. Man, am I really going to pick Zeke this many times? Yeah. Someone in Atlanta has to score. I don't know if they have to score points. I don't think there are any rules that say Atlanta has to score points, which is unfortunate because they have really fun players, but they could score very few points. Let's see. What else do we got here? Tannehill or Burrow? Definitely Burrow. Cordero Patterson and Damian Harris, full PPR. I guess at this point, I'll take Cordero Patterson. I need to double check my rankings this week and make sure I'm not saying stuff against them, because this really is like the start sit questions are where like I find out if I have the stomach to make the decisions that my rankings say I'm making. Do you fade outside of DFS, or do you just want to have a take? Let me read this again. Do you fade outside of DFS, or do you just have to take what you get over insert waiver wire backup? This is probably referencing something. This, I think this is about Kyle Pitts. Is that what this is about? Let me scroll to the top. Yes, it is about Kyle Pitts. It's just a DFS fade. He's still a top like 6 tight end for me this week. Probably with Kittle out, he's probably still the number 4 tight end. But I do think, to me, this week specifically, if I had tiers, it'd be like a top 3 tier, and then he'd be in tier 2, maybe alone in tier 2 even. I don't know. Maybe Dalton Schultz makes it with him in that tier. So, it's just a DFS fade. I'm not taking any of the backups over him. Let's see. Tolbert, Landry, or Osborne, non-PPR, minor points for return yards. I don't think do any of these guys return? If it makes a difference, how am I already here in week 1? Yeah. Beans. What happened? There haven't been that many injuries. There have almost been no injuries. How'd you get here? Oh boy. I guess I'd go with Landry. I think he's just such a better chance of having a decent target share, whereas like Osborne's just such a clear receiver 3. If you wanted the upside, I think Tolbert's reasonable, but like it does seem like they're dead set on Noah Brown being their second receiver. So you're only getting Tolbert on 3 wide sets. They could just play extra tight end or even 2 running back maybe, and that takes him off the field a lot. What do you think of Saquon? I think he's very good, and I didn't get enough of him late in best ball because he just went to the moon. He was like a 3rd round pick for a month or 2 and like early in best ball, and then just shot up. It just never stopped. So I was almost disappointed that I just didn't get more of him. Marquise Brown or Deontay Johnson? Marquise Brown. Thielen or Sutton? Steelers just signed. Their line, I think PFF ranked them as number 30. It is poor, but 25 touches a game behind a terrible offensive line is still pretty valuable. Like the same thing with like 20, CMC's played on terrible offenses his entire career, and it just never stopped just because his role was so good. PPR, pick my flex. Josh Jacobs, Juju. It's Juju here. I'm starting. Yeah, it's Juju for sure. Which young quarterback will break out in the second year like Burrow or Mahomes? Young quarterback. I think I go Trevor Lawrence. I can't see how Justin Fields does anything other than like give us some good fantasy juice because he's a runner. Because that offensive line, I personally think that offensive line is the worst in the NFL. Knowing very little about like technical offensive line play, they just seem terrible. And his receivers, like Equanimous St. Brown, is going to start for them in 3 wide receiver sets in week 1 because it looks like Bayless Jones isn't playing, and oh man, it's terrible. It's truly awful. So I love him, but I can't see it happening. Trey Lance, that's a good possibility. I just think the delta between what Trevor Lawrence's coaching and even his talent around him last year versus this year is going to be so massive. It's going to be unreal. This one is Juju over Bateman and ETN. I like Juju a lot this week. I still think he's like a tricky play in DFS because everyone likes Juju a lot this week. He looks like the very clear wide receiver 1 for Mahomes. So I just like the Chiefs this week, I guess, is the more overarching theme. I like Juju, but I also like MVS, who I think is a great pivot off of Juju, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all the Chiefs. Kirk, Judy, or I assume this is Pierce. I will go with Judy here. Zeke or Penny? I think I answered this, but Zeke, Dobbins, or Mike Davis. I mean, if Dobbins plays, I play Dobbins, obviously. If Dobbins... someone said maybe this is JK ain't playing. He might... I thought this would maybe be news related. I assume this is just a take. If Dobbins plays, it's Dobbins. Man, I couldn't have any less respect for myself. You gotta understand that this wasn't this wasn't a spur of the moment thing. This has been something building all of my life, having so low self-esteem. Julio, Jones, Ayuk, or Penny? Julio. Again, we're always going Julio. Again, we just play the best plays. Godwin. I don't care. I'm just going to close my eyes, not watch that game. Actually, it should be a pretty good game, so I might watch. But yeah, if he goes out and he's like not playing at all, egg on my face, I'm going to hold a fat L for that one. But like if he plays 60% of the snaps, it's Chris Godwin with Tom Brady. Like that's the moneymaker right there. That's what we want. Christian Kirk, Darnell Mooney. I will take Christian Kirk. This is funny. This is about Allen Robinson, zone coverage, and he couldn't beat zone coverage. Stafford looked for and found Cup. It's totally possible. My take on it was that just one game sample just doesn't tell us anything. But Cooper Kupp was really good last year, and Allen Robinson wasn't. And there's a chance that's just the way life is now. So I totally get it. I have my flex spot open. Should I start Penny, Metcalf, or Montgomery? I'll go Penny. Oh, be grown stuff. Hit that like. Don't just hit it. Smash it, everyone. Listen to the mans. Hit the like button. Is Chase Edmonds a risky flex PPR? No, I don't think so. I think he's pretty much locked in for at least a dozen carries and 2 or 3 catches at like a floor level. And that's more than like most like flex plays can offer you. Dylan, Bateman, St. Brown. Let's go Bateman, Edmonds, or Eli Mitchell. I'll go Edmonds here. Elijah Moore or Lazard. Elijah Moore. Yeah, Elijah Moore. It would just be, I can't be playing Lazard out here. St. Brown or Etienne. I will go with Etienne in this one. Najee plus Dylan or Najee plus Penny. As I attempt to catch up. So many questions. You fiends. Let's see what we got. Half PPR, Chase Evans or Elijah Moore. I go with Elijah Moore. DK or Duvernay. DK is in Metcalf. I don't know. Are there other DKs? DK. I assume that's Metcalf. ETN, Juju, or Bateman. Juju. I swear I've answered like all these questions 5 times. Is Mike Davis worth? Yeah, he's worth. But if you're not playing him this week, what are you picking him up for? If you need to play him, I think Drake will probably start, but it should be a pretty close to 50-50 split. But if you're not playing him this week, Dobbins will almost certainly be back by week 2 or 3, at which point Mike Davis is once again probably useless. So if you're not playing him this week, then no. But if you need to play him this week, then yes. Because he's not a long-term stash. He's the most short-term stash possible. Elijah Moore, Christian Kirk, Eli Moore. Let's see. Yes, this is correct. I'm actually going to take a little sipper of the coffee and just let this sit again. And I think that's probably just on YouTube. We got a handful of other listeners on Twitch. Hit that. I even use Twitch and I can't think of, I think you can put on notifications. Follow. I think you follow on Twitch. I don't follow anything on Twitch. I just show up. But follow on Twitch, sub on YouTube, like it on YouTube. 168 out of 168. Or I don't turn the channel off. I'm here until they kick me off. Let's see. Yeah, this is kind of my take. Like, Mike Davis can be worth the pickup if Kenyon Drake isn't available. Let's see. Not drafting well. Deontay, DK, or Michael Thomas this week. I'll go Michael Thomas. I feel like I'm choosing too many olds. I'm choosing a lot of Julio. Choosing Michael Thomas here. Happy PR, Chase Evans or Devonta Smith. I don't know. Devonta Smith, is that a real question? I get it. Look, the Miami, they have done a lot to improve their dreadful from last year offensive line. They have hired a coach who has historically been at least some part. It's hard to say exactly what part of the scheme, the Shanahan scheme, he has contributed, but seemingly a meaningful part of the scheme of one of the most efficient running attacks, great for running backs we ever get, on a weekly basis. I get it. I think I still go Devonta Smith, but it's a question. It's a real question. Who's more panicked right now? Cam Akers owners or drafted Ken Walker to be the RB1 dynasty? I think it's Cam Akers because if you drafted Ken Walker to be your RB1 in dynasty, I assume if you draft him to be your RB1, you still feel good about that, right? As a long-term view. If you need him to play this week, that's kind of your fault. That's a mistake on you. But you still feel good that in week 14, right? He's shut Penny out. And then next year they let Penny go. You're just sweating if you have Cam Akers. It's a sweaty, you just don't feel good. Bullets running down your face. Let's see. This was about the returns. KJ Osborne, Gallup Governor. Thanks, man. Yeah, I don't think the return Osborne stuff makes that much of a difference because you said it was a small amount of points. So good to know. Yeah, another thing, like I don't know the kickers. I probably couldn't name you more than like 3 returners. So I'm certainly not your special teams ace. Half PPR, Elijah Moore or AJ Dillon. Let's go Elijah Moore. What to do with Akers? My current running backs. I mean, like, I think you just hold him out. Like, no one's gonna pay much for him. Yeah, you're just like, you're screwed. I'm sorry. You drafted a bad player. Maybe not bad player, but a bad pick at his price. I mean, if someone wants to buy him for a decent amount of what you drafted him for, go for it. But I'm playing until Ryan Robinson returns. I'm even taking like Gibson over him from now on. Definitely Singletary over him. Obviously, you're just starting CMC. So Zeke or Amon-Ra. Zeke again, another old. He's another old. I've been drafting. Well, not drafting. I've been selecting a lot of. If you sell high on Amon-Ra, if he continues his torrid pace from last year over the first 4 weeks, knowing Jameson's way ahead schedule and could destroy him. I know. The problem is that players who do what Amon-Ra did last year, like 22 or something, 22-year-olds who produce so extremely well in their rookie season just have such good long-term value. But I guess this is maybe a redraft question, in which case, especially if you can get another wide receiver 1 for him, you're just like offloading risk at that point. Is Isaiah likely a weekly starter? I doubt it. I don't think so. Will Lamar be a top 5 quarterback? I think so. Ramondre or Adam Thielen? Ramondre. What else do we got? Let's see here. What to do with Akers? My running backs are. Oh, I just read this one. What else do we got? Landry. Anything there? I think so. I think Chris Olave was a good prospect, but I like that Kerrane comped him in a successful manner when things pan out to like Emmanuel Sanders, where Sanders is sort of like can do a lot, but primarily is like his best attribute is being able to beat corners outside with deep speed, even though he's not that big, but could also move in the slot, especially later in his career, could do that. I think Landry in week 1 just is going to be what he always is. You never want to see Landry out there getting a bunch of targets, and you're always seeing Landry out there getting a bunch of targets. Trade Mixon for Judy and Judy for Cup. Yeah, I would do that. Yeah. What else we got? Should I be worried about Cousins, my starting QB? No, he's fine. You don't have elite QB, but you didn't draft him to be. You took other players in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, so you're fine. What else we got? PPR need 2 out of 3, Sutton, Hollywood, and Cooks. I'll take the first 2, Sutton, Hollywood. We're dropping James Cook now. To be exact, for Jahan Dotson, yes. We want to see, especially if, I think Yahoo's this way, some other leagues are this way, where you can drop a player who's already played early in the week, so use it for like Thursday night drops. I would absolutely drop him for Jahan Dotson, because I think we'll immediately see Jahan Dotson playing 2 wide sets. He was like a polarizing prospect. I know like the hardcore analytics nerds didn't love him. He was like late breakout type of player, low dominator until that final season. But some of the film and some of like the advanced charting stuff did like him, and he's earning a role as a first-round rookie instantly. So is Jelani Woods worth a pickup and redraft? Most athletic rookie tight end. 12 teams, 12-team redraft. No. Like, do I have him stashed on some dynasty teams? Maybe. I think I know who he is, so that probably means I have him at least on one team, but not in redraft. What else do we got here? Breece Hall, Michael Thomas, Damian Harris, or Judy. I will go. I think I'll go Michael Thomas here. Have PPR Edmonds or Michael Thomas or Mooney? Michael Thomas again. Keenan Allen here. Keenan Allen. I almost skipped over him, but yeah, Keenan Allen. Julio. Always Julio, baby. Should I look to trade my QB? I have trade up. I don't think so. I think typically if like you're out looking for a specific thing in the trade market in like redraft leagues, someone will often just be like, yep, if you want Lamar Jackson, you got to give me Cooper Kupp and Dak. Those are the rules or whatever. I mean, if you can get a good value on a quarterback ahead of him in the rankings, I would, but it would have to be like a Mahomes, Herbert, like the tier 1 type of guys, Lamar Jackson, because trading up from Dak to Brady or Dak to, Stafford already played, but Dak to Stafford, There's like the difference between those players is so little. How do you think Albert? I hope he does well. I have so much of him, and I think he's really talented. But the Broncos don't seem to think that. We really need him to go out and have a good first 4 weeks, because if he can prove then that he is the stud that I think he is, then it'll be hard to bench him, even for Greg Dulcich, who the team very much likes. If he doesn't ball out, though, like he really has to do well in those first 4 weeks. If he doesn't do well, it's tough sledding. So I'll try and rapid fire so many more questions. Okay, I swear I'm like 1-word answers from here on out, just to make sure I get everyone. Need the most upside. Waddle, Elijah Moore, Penny, pick 2. Waddle and Elijah Moore. Oh, I already answered this one. Kadarius Toney. Ezekiel Elliott. Michael Thomas. I already answered that one. I already read this one. How am I so far behind? Darren Waller. Stop with the half-point PPR questions. They're fine. Sutton or Mitchell? Sutton. Etienne, Edmonds, or Damien? Etienne. Cobb or Watkins if no Lazard? Cobb. Marquise Brown. I answered this one, but Marquise Brown. I think that's what I said. I hope I didn't say the wrong thing. Woods and Landry this season. I mean, I think both of them fade down the stretch. They just have rookies and better players on their roster. So I think they fade, but they're fine right now. Penny. Gabe Davis is great. Yes, he absolutely is. Need the most upside. I think I already answered this one, but Waddle and Moore. I think about Lazard as a flex play. If he plays, I think he's a strong flex play. I would take him over all 3 of those guys. Let's see what else we got. Should I drop Ingram or Dobbs to pick up Kenny Walker? I mean, if you I guess I'd drop Ingram to pick up Kenny. Yeah, I would drop Ingram to pick up Kenneth Walker. And I like Ingram as like the handcuffy type, but Ken Walker is like actually. Yeah, I mean, like Zeke plays offense in which they give him all the goal line work. They give him a bunch of targets. He's not good, probably, but there's also the upside in which last year's PCL thing was actually the reason he was bad. Like, I don't know if I buy that, but I can't rule it out. How do you feel about Gerald Everett and Josh Palmer as a stack? Yeah, it's fine. Like, especially in redraft, totally just play, like, get pieces of good offenses. Like in DFS, I would probably go with like Palmer and Mike Williams or whatever. What else we got? Should I trade Najee Harris for Javonte Williams? Yes, I would totally do that. Javonte and Najee were just too close in value in the offseason not to take the free Michael Pittman. Assuming Godwin, Lazard out, flex Dobbs or Michael Carter. I'll go Michael Carter here. I have 3 spots for deep wide receiver backups: Julio, MVS, Tony, and Dobbs. 3 bench spots. I would Dobbs is the odd man out for me. Let's go Alberto here. Yeah, let's get Alberto in there. All right. How do you feel about Gerald? I read this one already. I have 90% exposure to Jared Goff and redraft. Please tell me I'm not crazy. He was super cheap. I took him as a deep best ball stack a lot. 90% seems excessive. I certainly didn't have 90%, but I'd imagine I was above the field on him in a best ball. I would never trade Mixon and Judy for Kupp. Well, you must like not good players, sir. Even though I like Judy a lot and Mixon's fine. I really just don't like Mixon. He's just like, I think he's like the classic roster killer that Pat Crane talks about, just like good but not great, and there are great players around him in drafts. CMC, Henry, and Swift. Jesus. Assuming it's like a 13-game regular season, I'd say like 10. No, 9. Sutton, Mitchell, Sutton, Ayuk, Mooney, and Joker this week. Nice value. London or Burks? London. Aaron Rodgers or Brady? Brady. Let's see. Covered most of these. I think. Rest of season PPR Pickens. Should I worry about Allen Robinson? I'm worried. I'm definitely worried. He was not good last year and he wasn't good last night. So worry is definitely on the table. Like cutting him? No, but worried. Javonte or Pittman? Javonte. Not good. That is just a terrible offense. And it's unfortunate because he's an awesome player. Zeke again here. Yeah, Zeke. Pierce, CH, or Penny, CH. Who do you see being the same once everyone's healthy? Second Patriots running back. Harris strong. It's definitely Damian Harris. Like, he was good last year. He was legit good. Let's Let's see. I'm coming close to the end, I think. I've done a good job. Judy here. Avs repeating this year? Probably not. Hockey's pretty random. It's hard to repeat, I would imagine. I mean, I know some teams have done it. Plenty of teams have. But from my understanding, the hockey analytics nerds will tell you hockey is quite random, especially in the playoffs. So, no. Half PPR, Juju, Smith-Schuster, Rashad Penny, Juju. So, yes, absolutely. Oh, you start them in shallow leagues if Moore and Ertz are out. All right. I think we're closing in on the end. Yeah, I might have made it. Sorry, I skipped a few, but we did also double up on a lot of these. This one, I go Etienne and Judy. This one, I go Pittman. Yeah, we're near the end. I will call this drop Kenneth Walker to pick up. No, I'm sticking with Kenneth Walker here. This one's Javonte. Yeah, here we go. Mixon, I don't know, was RB4 last year. Yeah, he just doesn't have. I mean, I like him now in the sense of he's already on your roster. You can't undraft him. He's a perfectly good RB1. But looking at it from a more macro perspective, he's not going to play on third downs. He's not a player like Derrick Henry, who is so efficient, or Jonathan Taylor, who Jonathan Taylor catches some passes. Derrick Henry catches very few passes, but they're so good on the ground that they can actually make up their lack of pass catching role in just being so efficient and so line. Whereas Joe Mixon is a fine rusher. There's very little, not zero, but very little chance of him giving you a league winning season, the Taylor season, the Eckler season, obviously the CMC seasons, even the Derrick Henry seasons. He's on your roster now. It's not that you should bench him or anything. It's like carried away. But I don't see any scenario in which he is the RB1 by a clear, or the top 2 or top 3 tier. I think he'll always be a second tier. Where I could see Dalvin Cook making that jump. Alvin Kamara can definitely do that. Saquon can do that. I think of the RB 8 to 15 range, Mixon is much closer to being good and not great. Whereas there are some running backs behind him who maybe in their median projection are better or are worse, right? But they, Javonte could overpass him just by being so good. All right, I'll end on this one. I hope that answers your question. It's not that I don't like him, it's that I don't like his ceiling. Actual final question: who's a better handcuff injury trade, P. Ryan for the Mixon or Hilliard? I feel much more confident in P. Ryan being the backup there, and I think Chris Evans is better, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I think. I believe they did not give P. Ryan a single touch in the preseason. They benched him. They gave him the rest week in week 18 last year. They think he's their backup. And if they think he's the backup, I think he's their backup. All right, everyone. It's 2:00. It's nearly 2:00. I'm losing my voice. We are going to head out. Next week, I will have Pat Corain on here, and we'll do a little more DFS talk. So get your questions. Hope you got your questions out of the way. We'll still answer your questions next week, but more DFS talk dispersed within it. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, check out the DFS article I dropped. It'll be on my Twitter at Kyle Tweets here. So everyone, appreciate it. I will catch you next week here.